conversation. It's a pleasure to welcome in Dan to the John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic on the Comcast Business Hotline. Dan, welcome in, man. Good to catch up with you again. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to catch up with you as well. I'm doing well, but how about yourself?
Yeah, very, very good. Getting used to this crew, though, Dan, is it is an adjustment.
Hang in there, man.
And being back in Philly after a quarter of a century of living elsewhere in the South.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic city, man. Good for you. It's an awesome place.
It's good to be home. Dan, the idea of the quarterback situation, we've talked to Mort this week. We've talked to Adam Schefter. And they both led us to believe that the idea is the best way, the most likely scenario is Carson Wentz plays elsewhere next year. Do you share their thought?
I do. I think it's going to be very difficult for Carson to go back and play in Philadelphia. That's not the best way. I mean, that's not the best option for the organization. I just think it's going to be very difficult to go, okay, we're going to bring you back because, and I've talked about this, where is the trust level between the organization to the player? Do they trust and believe that he can get back to the mindset that is needed for him to be a top-notch player again? I think that's a very real question. I think he can, but do they think he can? And then vice versa, where's the trust level from the player to the organization, both in general manager Howie Roseman and the head coach? Does he believe in those guys and going, okay, those guys are going to really put me in the best positions on a consistent basis and allow me to kind of play at my best football and get the people around me and put me in the right stuff. So I think it's very difficult after what's transpired over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 years, to go and say, yep, we're just going to pretend like this never happened and we'll be totally fine. And also have Jalen Hurts in the room. I've said this. You can have a competitive quarterback room. You can't have a combative one. And people who tell me it won't be combative, go back to Sunday Night Football and watch when Jalen Hurts is on the sidelines, and I agree with him when he's shaking his head going, this ain't right. Tell me it won't be combative with that type of competitor there.
So, Dan, I got to ask you, if you were the GM of the Eagles, how would you have handled this past week differently?
This past week when it comes to the game or moving forward? With
it comes to the reaction of the game, to the quarterback controversy, to the handling of the head coach, everything that was kind of involved this week.
Yeah, I mean, to the handling of the game, like, listen, I think one of the things that people dislike the most, no matter who you are, is being lied to, and being made to feel like we're stupid. We all have a relatively good idea of what happened. Just say that.
Right.
Just say that. Hey, no, at the end of the day, the number one goal for us as a football team was to not win that game. That was obvious. Okay, that wasn't the number one goal. If it worked out, great. Number two, we were going to play Nate Sudfeld indifferent of the situation of the football game. That was my decision as the general manager, okay? Just so everyone knows, that was my decision, all right? And so that's how I think that, like, the clarity of communication after the game should have been to the football team before and then afterwards, because people don't like to be lied to. Second of all, with the quarterback situation, I think that when you get into the moment of right after the game, there's a lot of emotions, and you're trying to figure out the right words to say. Hey, we think the world of Carson Wentz. We've proven that by the draft pick and all that stuff. We obviously had some conversations that need to be had, okay? We have to have them with him. He has to have them with us. To tell people that we think he's a great player is a waste of our time. We think he's a great player. But can he be that great player again? Did we do enough to allow him to become a great player? And does he want to be a great player in Philadelphia? And then with the head coach, listen, I've been very upfront and honest about Doug Peterson with some stuff this year. I disagreed with how they've handled some stuff, both schematically and, I guess want to say operationally. But at the end of the day, Doug's a very good coach, and he's been successful, okay? So be very careful just kicking out a good head coach that's been proven in a city that's got high demand. So I think I like the fact that they're bringing Doug back.
Dan, what is it about the quarterback position, though, that in a very, very competitive sport, very manly sport, that it seems like quarterbacks have to be coddled? Why can't a quarterback be pushed and face competition for their job, especially with the really crappy resume that Carson Wentz and the offense had put out this season?
Yeah, I think that each quarterback situation is very unique. To say why can't quarterbacks be put in competitive environments is a little bit of a broad stroke. Hey, why can't a guy that has had the history of Carson Wentz Why do you have to manage that a little bit better? Because not every quarterback in their second year of football has the best second season ever in the history of the NFL before Patrick Mahomes does it a year later. Okay, so that's part of this conversation. And then has this brutal injury, okay? And then not every quarterback comes back a year later almost to have like a repeat scenario. And then not every quarterback has to, put a football team on their back for over a 5 or 6 week span and carry them to the playoffs and then get hurt into the one in the game that is the reward for finally accomplishing that. So, like, that's why it's not coddling. It's like managing the personality, managing those people. And you can still be – it's almost like a kid, guys, like as parents. Like, you can still be upfront and brutally honest, and at the same time, that child needs to understand that you got their back no matter what. Like, it is you are in it. It is a we thing, not a you thing. Talk with them, not at them. And that's not – I don't view that as coddling. I view that as like they're building up and the constantly affirming and but also being brutally honest and upfront. And so I get that the offense stunk this year in many ways, but the offense isn't going to get better just because you get rid of a really good, talented player.
Dan, on Monday, Carson Wentz was asked to speak with the media. He politely declined that invitation. A lot of people think it's a lose-lose situation for him. I think his silence speaks volumes. I think him not addressing it, and it doesn't have to be a press conference. He could do it via social media. He could control the message. Does it behoove Carson Wentz to speak to the media and address the rumors that are snowballing out of control?
Okay, so here's the thing. If the rumors didn't have truth to them in a significant amount, he would have already come out and said they're not true. Okay?
Correct.
So they're true, right? To your point, social media, you can make a post. Until you hear it from my mouth, don't believe anything you read or hear, okay? So they're true. Listen, if I was Carson Wentz, understanding what's happened, I wouldn't talk until I knew exactly what I was going to do. Until I sat down and said, okay, because listen, once you decide to go, no, I want to go somewhere else, that you don't go back from that, right? And if you decide to sit down and go, I'm staying, we are working this out, and I've grown over the last 6 weeks, and we will never experience this again as long as I'm here. You don't go back from that either, right? So you got to make sure that you sit there, figure it all out, talk to your people, have a lot of conversations with yourself, because either way, you're diving in. You are all in on whatever decision you make. And so is the football organization. And so I get that, like, there's no point in him standing up there a day or two after the season and trying to figure out, well, we'll see. This is what he's going to say. We haven't crossed. I'll think about that. We've got some time now. He's not going to give anything. So until they figure out exactly what is going to happen moving forward, I don't see the benefit for him talking.
Dan, before we let you exit, Jeffrey Lurie just called, and he asked a question. He said, Dan has the opportunity to give me some feedback here. I've got a general manager who's on a hot seat. I've got a coach that's on a hot seat, and I have a quarterback who maybe doesn't want to be here. Isn't it better to let one or two of them exit than to go into a next season where, at the very least, they would be on total hot seats? That can't be a way to do your job, right?
Yeah, it's challenging. Let me say this. In the NFL, there's two things that help organizations be really good. There's three things, really, but there's two impactful in the nows. Really good coach, really good quarterback. Okay, both the coach and the quarterback have proven at the NFL level to be very good. You better be darn sure that you've got a better option both in the now and the relatively short future on either of them before you let them walk out your building. The NFL's tough, man. It's a dog. It's a grinder. In a city as passionate as Philly, it's a grinder. But at the end of the day, if you sit down and go, Doug Peterson can get us back to a Super Bowl, why? Well, because, I think he's grown over the challenges over the last 2 years, and guys want to play hard for him, and he's going to address the football team when it comes to what happened Week 17 against Washington on Sunday night, and he's got a really good offensive mind, and he went through a season without an offensive coordinator, and he wants to bring in a guy that's going to help with that stuff. And I believe the quarterback can be great because he's still super talented, and one of the flaws was his mental maturity and his style of leadership, and he's learned that he needs to develop that and needs to take more ownership and accountability of that. I believe that both those guys both have the physical and the mental makeup to be great again. I can't let them walk out the door just because they had a rough 4-month stretch.
It's going to be it's going to be an exciting offseason is what you're saying. We've got a lot of it.
No doubt.
There we go.
No doubt.
All right, we're getting ready to wander off, but we were playing the sound effects. We were sounding sound cuts of you earlier. So you don't like horror movies, and eating a cheeseburger is poison. Okay, come on now. Come on now. You're allowed the occasional poison, right? Because this morning I brought in a box of the Fruit Loop Pop-Tarts for everybody to sample a Fruit Loop Pop-Tart.
You can just hear the disgust.
I can hear the groan in here. Now, they only had one.
High fructose corn
Everybody
syrup.
only had one. But,
Oh.
Dan, you wouldn't even we couldn't get you to even try that.
Not really. I mean, because here's the thing. Like, I know what it's going to taste like more often than not, especially specifically with breakfast. Like, I'm not messing with breakfast like that. Here's my thing I love cheeseburgers. I just don't eat them a lot. My wife smashes cheeseburgers. She loves a good cheeseburger. But if you gave me the option of like cheeseburger or a chicken burger all day long. I adore chicken burgers.
At least you're consistent. Thank you so much, man.
Horror movies are stupid.
I agree with you.
Hey, guess what? The Eagles have been one of their own, so we're dealing with it. So, hey, Dan, thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Be well, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan Orlovsky joining us. And gosh.
Yeah, he's brought to us by our great friend.